welcome back to the RePHIL studio. This is your host, SB Philosopher. This is your weekly Bang Dream podcast, giving you the best up-to-date information about upcoming news and updates to the game and franchise, as well as give you insight from prominent community members sharing their stories and experiences about the game. As always, feel free to check out our website, links in the description below, to learn on how you can support the podcast by either joining the YouTube membership program below or by subscribing to my Twitch channel. All Filler Nation members can join the Discord server to interact with special guests and listen to the podcast live while they're being recorded. But of course, anyone is welcome to join the Discord server to join a fun and loving community and interact with our special guests and have a great time. So this weekly news corner that I'll talk about very soon is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be formatted a little bit differently, focusing mostly on ENdori with some pretty big developments in the game. So we'll do that before we introduce one of our very special guests to the studio very soon. So let's get right to it with the weekly news corner. Okay, so this weekly news corner, I'm not going to be talking about JPDori too much because I've already talked about some updates to JPDori in my most recent video discussing the Garupa Station live stream. So check out the video on the card above. But to summarize what's going on in JPDori, currently it's a Christmas Roselia event, and it's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the story so far. But also be on the lookout for RePHIL Bandori 2 coming out soon. At this time of this recording, there isn't any promotional material for RePHIL's Bandori 2 just yet, so I'm not sure if it might be delayed. It was expected to be in mid-December, which is actually should be after this event, but we'll see how it goes. Definitely be on the lookout for that. And I know a lot of RePHIL fans are excited, so definitely be on the lookout for that. Let's just hop right into ENdori because ENdori had the big development of finally being able to implement the 4.10 update. As I mentioned before in previous podcasts, this 4.10 update was the reason why so many things have started to go downhill for ENdori in terms of scheduling, skipping events like One of Us, Title Idol, and the Hello Happy World collab event. It was because this update was just not being done on time. And they finally got it, albeit with a few extra hiccups from Google. But the update is finally ready and is in the game. So as a result, the current event right now at the time of this podcast is the Welcome to the Shrine Live Goals event. And this event also features a Dreamfest gacha. So again, things are finally getting back to the swing of things, and this event was actually also slightly pushed back because of this 4.10 update as well. So that's going on right now with the 4.10 update. ENdori is back to business. I want to kind of dissect this update a little bit in greater detail for those who may not be as aware. So I want to give you guys an idea of, I would say, the good, the bad, and the ugly, of course, of this update, because there's definitely still some very concerning trends for ENdori's future. So I just want to discuss this with you in today's episode. So let's talk about the good. The good is just basically the fact that we're getting a lot of different features. So let's sort of summarize what features are going to be added in because of this 4.10 update. So the favorites function and the sort function when you're trying to find songs have been updated to be a little bit easier and more user-friendly. There's now 3 lists of favorites, and you could sort much better in terms of like things like find song level difficulty. So if, let's say in this current live goals event, you want to find a 27 song or a 28 song, it's much easier to sort those songs out than just using whatever sort functions there were in the past. So good quality of life changes. When it comes to the actual gameplay, there's this new light mode feature where you could play with the background being just a character card art, which, it's very nice and neat that you could play while looking at a very nice, beautiful art of a character card instead of the chibis or the extra lights in the background. And this could possibly save and help smoothen gameplay for people with lower level devices or older devices that may have difficulties keeping up with the graphics of the live 2D mode and the normal mode. There's also a few additional lane designs and notes that have been added, so you could definitely check those out to see if that's something you're comfortable with in the system settings. When you're playing multi-live, you could choose a random option function. So instead of clicking random, like just completely random, and then and then if all 5 of them choose random, then it'll be a random song. You could also choose a random song function where it's going to be a random song, but then it's sort of announced right off the bat in multi-live. So it's already dictated what song it is, so that you don't necessarily sit there and, maybe 4 people click random and then the other person clicks unite from A to Z, and then you have to play A to Z again. So, this random song function is just a different way of playing the game and adding a new random feature to selecting songs. Finally, I think in terms of features, my favorite new feature in this update is the fast forward and rewind option in rehearsal. So if there's a very specific part of the song that you're struggling in, you can go to rehearsal mode and you can fast forward and rewind to a very specific part of the song and just keep practicing that part over and over again. For me, the full version of Firebird, the drum roll at the very end, I'm struggling immensely at it. So I just, fast forward all the way to 5 minutes in so I could practice that part over and over again until I get the hang of it. So we'll see if I'll be able to full combo. I think this is my favorite feature of the update by far. Just being able to make it easier for you to practice and learn the songs that you're struggling with so that you can improve your game. So very cool feature there. And lastly, I guess in a tiering perspective, there are actually new titles for tiering that you could get now. So now there's going to be a new T50, there's a new T300, new T500, and also a new T3000. So I think out of all of these are not very surprising because they were added in JPDori as well. But the T3000 is a little bit weird because they didn't update the top 2500. So there's like a top 1000, top 2500, and top 3000. So 1,500 people are going to get a top 2500, but only 500 people are going to get top 3000, which is a little strange. Personally, I think they could have at least maybe updated the top 2500 to top 2000, but oh well, whatever. These titles are really interesting, and also I guess maybe something unique about them is that one of us, Title Idol, and Hello Happy World collab event in JPDori did not have these titles at the time. They did not have any top 50s or top 300s. So this is actually an experience only ENdori players could get to get let's say a top 50 in one of these events. I'm personally thinking of getting top 50 in Title Idol, and that could be really exciting to see. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Again, small benefit of having the events delayed up to this point to maybe get these titles that no one else has gotten before, but again, that's only a small thing of possibly a bigger concern. And this kind of transitions well into maybe not the good things about this update. So from what I've heard from many people, this update is pretty unstable for a lot of people. I've noticed people are getting more crashes in the game as a result for some reason. It might be because this update is only supported for newer devices. So if maybe you have an older iOS or maybe an older Android build, this update may not be as stable for you guys. I don't know if anyone else has experienced this issues. Personally, not for me, but I've seen some people having issues. Also, the update, even though it has taken so long and it was even flagged down by Google, it still seems really incomplete. There's like places where there's like some assets missing. There's some glitchy assets on some screens. I might have some screenshots on the podcast right now, and also some pages are still in Japanese. They're not in English at all. So I think there's a bit of incompetency and rushing there with the update there. I'm not sure what's going on there. So that's obviously not great. So that's definitely, that's pretty bad on their part. And I think one other thing that a lot of people are a little bit surprised about is the fact that there is no miracle ticket right now. At this time of the event in JPDori, players were offered a miracle ticket after a particular gacha. There doesn't seem to be a miracle ticket here, which means that you can do this paid gacha. You'll guarantee a 4-star, but if it's a duplicate, you're kind of out of luck, right? You can't guarantee to at least get someone new with a miracle ticket where you could exchange that miracle ticket for a 4-star of your choice. It may not seem bad at first, but the fact that we were almost promised by the community manager that we will be getting miracle tickets that were missed. It's a bit of a bad sign, a warning flag, a red flag right there. It's like, okay, well, maybe it's gonna come later. Maybe like in the Hello Happy World collab, maybe it's gonna happen there. I don't know, but that's a little bit doesn't feel too good. Again, it wasn't necessarily like promised by ENdori directly. It was just some insider information. So I can't necessarily say that's terrible news. But again, it's like, well, this is something we were expecting as well from the scheduling. So where's the miracle ticket, right? And you know, this kind of leads to the ugly, because not only did we not get a miracle ticket gacha, we didn't really get some good compensation either. The maintenance was actually took a lot longer than expected, so they had to extend it just to give us still an incomplete update, which is unfortunate. And also the compensation we got, 400 stars and 3 boosts, small boosts. That's 43 energy plus maybe the 10 when you start the game. You only have 53. That's not even a full set. That's nothing. That is nothing in compensation for what they say is for delays in the event. It's honestly kind of laughable of how poor the compensation is. Even like let's say there was maybe the Google instance did not happen, right? That was a week of when we didn't have an event. You can easily sneak an event in there. If people played the event quite well, you would get at least 400 stars really easily. So I'm not sure why ENdori is like, oh well, I guess we're not gonna give that much compensation for the mistakes and incompetencies they've done for the past 2-3 months. I think this sends a message that it's just there's definitely a gap between the consumer and the company right now. There is a big gap right now, and that's why I put it in the ugly side, because it doesn't seem like that gap has been bridged yet or has been fixed yet. There's still a long ways to go before we could feel comfortable with the decisions that ENdori is making right now, because there's still a lot of things, a lot of questions about what's going to happen to the future of the game. One of such questions is the scheduling. So sure, we already know that the current event is Welcome to the Shrine. We know that the event after this is going to be the Hello Happy World Do-Re-Mi collab, which is confirmed by a tweet, as well as the promotional material that we're getting very soon. But what next? What happens after? We are still unsure of how much the schedule is going to change between JP and what we're experiencing right now. Personally, there's some issues I have because, one, ENdori usually does not put two of the same sort of event types together. So, for instance, the Hello Happy World collab is a mission live, as well as One of Us, the Bandori, which is a mission live. So would they put those together and break a trend that they have previously tried to avoid having? Maybe, but chances are they might not. They might just say, okay, well, we'll just sneak an event in between and we'll kind of go from there. So that could be a problem. As well, attributes are a problem as well, because event attributes usually do not go side by side as well. If two events have the same attribute, they usually can't go side by side. One of the main examples I'm using is Terrible Horror Night, which is a powerful event, and Title Idol, which is also a powerful event. So would Terrible Horror Night go after Title Idol, which it should based on what we predict, but they're both two powerful events at the same time? I don't see that happening either. I think that ENdori will probably try and stick with that as much as possible to maintain that sort of trend they've always been. But if that happens, then the schedule gets completely whacked up. Like, this is going to be the point where even Nico Ni Connect, the Bandori 3 for Hello Happy World, that also might get affected as well by the scheduling, because they want to make sure that there's no overlap with attributes and event types. I'm also concerned that they may not necessarily will put One of Us directly after the Do-Re-Mi Hello Happy collab. I know a lot of people are looking forward to it, and most people are predicting that's going to be happening, but I'm still a little bit skeptical, because I'm personally thinking that ENdori would want to promote and focus on promoting the Do-Re-Mi Hello Happy collab. and not so much trying to overlap um, promotion between the collab and the Bandori 3, because Bandori 3 also requires an immense amount of promotion and preparation. So to me, it makes more sense to do the collab, a random event, one of us, a random event, title idol, and then continue from there. And not have two Bandori 3s together, because you want to kind of help promote the Bandori 3s and give them time to promote the event. So the fact that they still haven't been communicating with us exactly on what the scheduling is going to be like is still very, very concerning. We have no idea what's going on still, and they just kind of gave us 400 stars and tell us, hey, stop complaining. We're done. We got our job done. Here you go. Let's keep playing the game. It's getting hard. It's getting difficult to read what ENdori is doing, and I'm also this just leads to a lot of concerns I have with ENdori in the future. But what do you guys think about this update? I mentioned a lot of things about this update and what it's going to, how it implements the game or how it affects the game in the future. So let me know, guys, in the comments below. What do you think about the 4.10 update? What do you like about it? Are there any concerns you have about it? Any things that you're like, oh, well, this wasn't expected? Let me know. Let's have a discussion in the comments below. See what you think about the 4.10 update. But let's finish off the weekly news corner for today. Let's hop onto the other side of the studio. We have a special guest waiting for us there, and let's have a great conversation. Want to support the RePHIL studio? Check out our website. Links in the description below. Here you can learn more about the podcast as a whole, as well as complete our feedback form to give comments about how we can improve the project, as well as suggest any future special guests that you would like to see on the studio. You can also learn more about how you could support the podcast by joining the Filler Nation, either through a Twitch subscription or joining the YouTube membership below. Thanks again to the Filler Nation members for your constant support, and a reminder that all Filler Nation members can access the podcast live when they are recording in the Unga Academy Discord server. We hope to see you there. All right, everyone. Welcome back. We are ready to begin our special guest feature in the RePHIL studio. So let's refill to 53, because that's how much ENdori has given us in terms of compensation. We've only filled at 53 today. But welcoming our special guest, RC, to the studio today. And just to give a brief intro about them, they have gotten T10, specifically 5th place in the Autumnal Heartful Letter event, as well as very recently T1 in the A Spur to Teamwork event that just passed not too long ago. RC, thank you for taking the time to join us for the RePHIL studio today.
Hi, no, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. Yep.
Great.
Yep. Let's get on. I'm really excited.
Is there anything else you would like to add to that intro I gave you?
When you look at it, my tiering achievements are rather thin so far, but this year and next year should spice it up quite a little, so do look forward to that.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we'll
Very
definitely
ominous.
ask that when that moment comes later. So RC, of course, going from where you started to get into Bandori, and then very recently getting your T1, and so maybe let's take a step back and kind of see where it all started. So first of all, how did you get into Bandori? How did you hear about it, and how did you get into the series?
Well, actually, it was very slow, like descent into the boundary madness for me, because it was my best friend who was originally into this game, and I think it started somewhere around like July, June of
Mhm.
2019, and like she's downloaded the app, she started playing, and like she's two of us are kind of very different in the sense that she gets into stuff very quickly, and I'm like kind of the person who like skirts around it until like something in
Mhm.
particular pulls me in. So she was like telling me to play for like weeks on end, and she was like, dude, you really have to check out this rhythm game, and like the cards are so cute, the art is so cute, but every time I looked at it, like I just wouldn't feel like the magnetic pull, like the want to like actively go and search up about something. Until
Mhm.
there was one day, I think it was like after some kind of group activity we had with like some other friends, and like she sat me down outside a cafe and she gave me a phone and she's like, "You gotta try this during the game. Like I'm gonna force you. You've been avoiding this for so many weeks." And then I tried it and then I realized that like, oh my god, like I really love the gameplay and like this is a kind of like the classic one line rhythm game that I've been really looking for. So then I downloaded the app and I remember I downloaded the app on our country's National Day because it was a holiday and I had like nothing
Mm.
to do. Yeah. So that was pretty significant. And then I downloaded it and then it all started from there. And like the rest was history. Yeah.
Well, when you got into Bandori, was there a
hmm
particular character at the start or band that kind of got your attention immediately, and has your favorite character slash band changed since?
Oh gosh. I mean, obviously, it has changed because I don't think Morphonica was relatively a thing, a very big
Hmm.
thing in 2019.
Hmm.
Yeah, so obviously there's been some kind of thing before that. And okay, this is a very dirty little secret, but
Oh.
actually how I choose like, I'm kind of into K-pop too, so you have
Hmm.
that and how I choose like my bias, my Oshi or whatever. I'm a very very shallow person in that regard because I need to pick out someone within the first 5 minutes and it's going to be the person who looks the most like attractive or stands out the most to me. And I don't think a lot of people know, but that one, my first Bandori Oshi was Saya. Yeah, it was a very like weird choice because I think back then I kind of only knew Poppin' Party because my best friend is a Poppin' Party Oshi.
Hmm.
And out of all the characters, I was like, wow, like Saya is cute. She has a cute design. I love her personality. Like, I just want her to like not in a creepy way, but I really wish I could be like friends with her. Like she's the kind
Hmm.
of person that like everybody's drawn to. And like that when you're around her, like you're gonna get taken care of in that sense. So I started liking her a lot from the start. And then like slowly over the months, you learn about the other bands. And then my second Oshi was Ran. And Ran helped for a bit. And like the interesting thing about Ran is that like okay, like some of you know that like now I have short hair and like
Hmm.
it's like a I don't know, like a boyish cut, kind of pixie cut, kind of like that thing.
Hmm.
But when I first got into Bandori, I had like a short like black bob. And it was like I looked like exactly like Ran without the red strips. So that was kind of thing. And like they drew me in. And my other friends who were getting into Bandori were like, hey, you look kind of like this girl. And I was like self gratified. So I was like, yeah, I do. And then I started liking her. So that lasted for about a year or so, I think, until Morphonica was announced.
Hmm.
And then I didn't get into Morphonica at first, honestly. And so like my Oshi still continued being run for like a few months even after they were announced on JP. And then suddenly, I think like a madness came over me. I had like I don't know, like a moment of weakness or something. And then I looked at the Toko card one day. And Toko had never interested me before. I still vividly remember making fun of her design because I thought she was like a Lisa and Kokoro love child. And I told that to like everyone. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then so it was a little bit embarrassing to come out one day and be like, hey guys, I really like this other like blonde girl's cards and I think I'm gonna like stand her from now on. So that was my story. I think it's a little simple. I don't think I'm someone who changes like their favorite characters a lot, but I think my interest in Boundary just has been like such a long running thing that these changes kind of ended up happening.
Yeah, yeah. Well, great to hear that, RC. And throughout the podcast, I'm going to ask a few questions as well that some
hmm
of our viewers that have been asking. So I'm just going to kind of pluck them in there, here and there, as the time comes when the timing is right. We actually have Eric here who is asking exactly, what exactly about Toko that you enjoy about her. Of course, the looks, the blonde hair, but is there any other part of Toko that you particularly enjoy about her character development so far?
Well, I think she's a very like a very fresh addition to the
Hmm.
Bandori cast that like in I don't you don't really see like her okay, I guess you kind of do see the influencer trope, but it's not in the way that like I think that she brings kind of a very unique type of character to the cast. Like you had Lisa, you had Himari, but you never had really had someone who was kind of like in between and a little more than that. So I think that like her character and like um that very like you can relate to her kind of, and you can also she really acts like a normal teenager in that sense. Like she wants to be trendy. She has that like kind of like lightheartedness, but she kind of like avoids heavier topics and she kind of brushes them off. But she has like a want to do better underneath, and it's kind of like that like little like awkwardness, but she's still like fun on the outside that I found really interesting. And I think in general I relate to her a lot about how she expresses herself, and that I don't really like to say or like go into very heavy topics or like directly express what I want. So I think I can come off as like kind of aloof sometimes. And how do I put this? Like I won't say what I want. I'll try to put myself as a joke so that I can lighten up everything and kind of be like the optimist or the lighter person, especially in like more somber scenarios. And but the thing is like I really like a story like that fact because she kind of shows both sides that you can be someone who's very light and cheerful, and it's okay to be like that, but we should still learn to like people who come off as very jokey or very shallow still have like deeper feelings underneath, and they still have their own wants and their desires that should be respected just as much as those who are more serious about it. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely, and I definitely agree with a lot of your sentiments about Toko. Toko is definitely one of my favorite characters in the franchise as well. I
Good
do
taste.
I do think it's a little unfortunate that she's quite underrated overall.
Mhm.
In compare in like the general audience, but you know that's just how it is. I hope that again we'll get Toko to develop even
Uh-huh.
further as time goes to hopefully capture more people's hearts in terms of being able to like her more.
Mhm.
Yeah. So of course, RC moving forward, you then started playing the game, and you really started getting a hang of it. And we're gonna kind of take a time machine back, and not necessarily when Morphonica was still announced and yet, but what sort of convinced you to first start tiering in the game, because it's really interesting how some people have gone from being like a casual player to more of a serious in terms of like actually tiering. So how did that start? How did that spark of tiering start?
Uh, oh my gosh. Okay, you can see from the first question, my like my boundary interest was just like a set of like happy little accidents with like timed right,
Mm-hmm.
with like good timing. And Turing was the same thing. And my first top 100 title, or like my foray into this side of the game, was during I think it was last year's White Day event, the one with Otae and Chisato. And basically I didn't expect to even get a T100. I didn't expect to like go past T1K, but it's just that I was at a relative's house for dinner, and I consider myself an extrovert, but I think that day I was just really, really drained. So I didn't want to do anything, and I just sat in a chair at the corner of the room and I played Bandori. And then I kept playing and playing and playing because my family was over late and like all the adults were talking. I didn't want to do anything with them. So like I just kept playing, and then I checked the home screen every few matches, and then somehow I ended up, I think I stopped around like 1-3 something that day. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, hold on, can I go further? So it was, and then the next day I came back and then I started playing the game again. And then I got to like 70 something. And then next day I would climb even higher. And it was just like these very small steps of not really one big goal to get T100, but just being like, can I push myself a few more ranks? Can I push myself a few more ranks? And in the end, it ended up in me staying in like T100 the whole event. Yeah, it's definitely, it was very something impromptu and something that I didn't plan. And then after that, I was just like, okay, I get one. I'll be happy with that T100. And like, okay, I don't want to get into it anymore. And I also don't know how to get into it. But then the real whale bait was seeing people in rooms with top 10 and podium titles. And I was like, man, now I feel kind of undervalued and I want something bigger. So then that started my foray into kind of like searching for like another title. And AHL came at a time where it was I didn't really tier events based on characters back then like I do now. So AHL was just because the timing was right. I had decent cards, which turned out to be not so decent. You can ask me about that later. It's one hell of a ride. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, I'll go for this. So then that ended up in my first T10. And then after that was just like totally getting absorbed and like losing like half of my life to this stupid game. So that's how it went.
So it's quite quite fascinating to hear that you basically did like your first top 100 as a pub, right? You just kind of did it on your own
Mhm.
time and just kind of went at it, and then suddenly stumbled upon Autumnal Heartful Letter, which ended up
Uh-huh.
being your top 10. So was that your first experience in a tiering server, like your top 10?
Yeah. Yeah, it pretty much was. I asked for like links to like others like earlier then, but I didn't really do anything. Like I didn't chat. I would just like sit there and like look awkward and like I don't know, like unfriendly. I don't know. Until that actual like event. So obviously I had a lot of mix ups. I was like the one like freaking out like 3 days before the event, like, guys, what are we gonna do? Oh shit, I don't think my team is good enough. Do you think this amount of stars will make it? What do you think the cutoff is? And I think it's normal for everyone on your first time, but I
Mhm.
think I still feel kind of bad about it because I think I pestered everyone a lot because I was super nervous. I was like, everything was crap. It was a VS with like a crappy team, and my EP game was trash. So it was definitely, I think at one point in time, I had a mental breakdown while tearing, and I was like crying while playing A to Z, and I couldn't really see the notes, and I ended up like fleeing because like tears are dropping on my phone, and I couldn't see through like
Oh
I couldn't see
no.
like properly. Yeah. So it was a wild time. But I think that like it was also very eye-opening, and it's definitely something that I won't forget because like everything felt so fresh back then. And you can't really like replace or like redo that kind of like first experience. And I don't know, it was just a lot, but I think it's a lot in both a positive and a negative way.
So again, it's quite again the fact that your first tiering experience in the tiering server was a T10 was definitely as you mentioned, eye opening, quite different
Uh-huh.
from what you initially kind of maybe think about tiering in the past. So maybe like maybe for those who are newer to tiering or maybe are unfamiliar to tiering, what was your sort of first impression or when you first saw what a tiering server is like, and what can you share about that for newer viewers and newer tiers?
Okay, I think I don't know if a lot of people can relate, but I was when I like first like got into all of this. Okay, I was a little intimidated, but like
Mhm.
a bigger part of me was like, wow, I need to like get everything. I need to become the top dog somehow, and like I need to prove my worth. So it was a lot of just like trying to like fit in, trying to just like start conversation, just trying to like like get myself out there. And I think that it can come off as very confusing sometimes. Like I definitely was very confused. I was very lost. I felt bad about like asking questions or going forth to be like, I don't really understand this. Can someone help me with this? Or like can someone just like give me tips on, let's say, like even like how to do hours. And I think that it can come off as very like off-putting to a lot of people, which is why I guess like getting into the tiering community is often like two very different things. So I don't think it's something that it's for like I can't say it's not for everyone because I think that everybody can do it pretty much. But I think that definitely there's kind of a wall there that's hard to cross sometimes. And my advice to newer people is always just like it's okay to reach out. It's okay to ask questions, and oftentimes I think that like more of like all of us like more like I don't know like older whales or the tiers are more than happy to answer your questions. And like I'm always very happy when like someone new comes to me or like we get some people new people in like the servers, because I think that it's always a very like blessed experience. Oh my gosh, I sound so old fashioned now. It's always like, I don't know, I think it's always something very magical to be part of someone's like first foray into this.
Mhm.
And like we're more than most of the time we're more than happy to have you here, even especially if you're feeling like I really like, oh my gosh, and like the fillers come in and they feel for like 3 hours. I'm like, bless you, I love you. I don't care about your EP gain, just be here.
Yeah.
So yeah, just don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to aim for stuff. And basically, it just play like a lot of people say play more, and I guess like you can. It's often said as a snarky remark, but really it's just play more. Like the essence of play more just is that you don't need to care about reputation. You don't need to care about like how many titles you had before. That any title is technically like theoretically achievable just as long as you have enough time, a good team, or like any of them and money. So like don't let impressions or like don't let expectations or reputations screw you up when it comes to that. Just go for what you want and like shoot for the stars.
Yeah, yeah. Well said, RC. And definitely, it has been intimidating at first, but you and me, we all were in the
Mm-hmm.
same boat when we first started, didn't know what to do, and we asked a lot of questions, and it's very nice to see that people were very willing to help because everyone was in the same shoes as starting off before, not really knowing what to do,
Yeah.
and it's definitely important to ask questions, making sure that you know what you're doing, and just making sure that everyone's having a good time, a good experience. It's obviously not easy to go for such high ranks and tiers sometimes. As you mentioned, your first experience, you had a lot of obstacles throughout the way, but I mean, that's sort of high tiering servers exist, right? It's to support
Mm-hmm.
each other and make sure that we could get the goals together and do what we can to achieve the goals that we need. Yeah, and of course, RC, you did end up getting that top 10. It was fifth place.
Uh-huh.
I think I did remember because I was in that server before. You mentioned earlier, but yeah, your team was not ideal. Your
Uh-huh. It
team
was
was
it was
yeah.
something.
It was an interesting team. It didn't score very high, so there's a terminology in VS Lives where you want to give the people who are tiering higher, we want to give them better placement so they can get more event points, but um, it was kind of difficult.
Yeah, yeah.
But it worked out in the end, right? Because at the end, you
Mm-hmm.
ended up spending the time that you need to do and working together and getting the support from everyone to fill for you and support you and encourage you throughout the event. So
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that's probably like one of your um, the first tiering experience. I think is definitely one of the most memorable experiences in a tiering server.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, good,
Oh, did
good.
you know that I think I spent more like stars on and time on my T10 than I did for my T1? It was, yeah, I counted it the other day and I was like, "Oh no.
Well,
Oh no."
it's not the first time RC. I think a lot of our guests have came into the studio and they talk and funny enough, like their T1s for a lot of people do usually don't feel as bad or as challenging as some of the other titles, even though if they're lower. And I think it kind of
Yeah.
shows how much you prepared and how much you learned from your experience since
Mhm.
that you were able to do that and be able to sort of learn from what you did. Again, the first time you tiered, it was tiering with like a pretty mediocre team, not really sure how to manage time and all that. So it
Mhm.
was definitely certainly quite challenging. But then a year or so later, you have that experience and you're able to
Yep.
to build into something.
100%.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so maybe just before we talk about that T1.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
when did you start again? You already mentioned how you started getting thoughts of okay, well, if I got T100 and I see people getting T10, I want to get a T10, right? When did the thoughts of oh well T10 or a T5 is not enough. I want something higher. When did those kind of guerrilla thoughts start appearing?
I think they're more whale thoughts than gorilla thoughts. I don't think I've ever
Fair,
had a gorilla thought. I'm just
fair.
like, I'm just here to tap this game. I don't think I can FC anything. Oh my gosh. Let me think about it. Actually, when did they start? I think it was like, um Okay, the event was announced this year, January, right? And
Mm,
by then, I already kind of wanted. I kind of knew that I already wanted something higher.
mhm,
My plans were initially after AHL, immediately after AHL, is that my only plan was I wanted to aim for Sakura Blooming T10, which I ended up dropping because back then I didn't know that I would want to go for a T1 and I would have to save. And I think like a bit after that, I was like just like just doing my deal, filling, calling people like 10,000 times to wake them up, and like slowly I started thinking about it and I was like, I kind of want like, I want to be like up there with like the super omega gorilla whales. And I think I want something to like put me above the rest and really show that like I've because like I felt like I was a bit undervalued for the T10,
mm.
and probably so because everybody else was saying 8 hours and I was like averaging like 16 hours a day. So it was kind of depressing.
Oh
And I was like,
no.
I think I have the stamina and something. And I want to show that like I have the time and I can put in the stamina. I can put in like the hours. And that if I have a good team, I can make myself go really far. So that was just the kind of like hunger for like competition and like I don't know what is fame. Probably not fame. I think I just wanted to prove something to myself.
Mhm,
And then, but I didn't really act on it, because pretty much every single event had like someone going for it that I didn't want to fight against, and I didn't really have any event that like called to me, and that's
mm.
when Tokuran came around. And I still remember the day it was announced. I saw the banner, I freaked out. It was in school, it was during recess, and like everybody else was eating, and like my hands were like shaking as I was like holding the phone. I was like, no way, this can't be real. And it got even worse because I checked the post and then I hit translate and then I saw Rand's name in the description. And I was like, no way they're gonna give me like my first like actual Oshi and my like current Oshi together in an event. And then it happened. So then I was like, okay, this is literally the dream event. I have to do this. And then it's like, I think that was the thing that kept me going a lot is that, like, some people have been waiting like 3 years for like their weird character combination. But
Mhm.
it's just like a stroke of insane luck that I managed to get my two favorite characters on my like Oshi's first banner and within a time that I wouldn't have school like in the way. So I was like, I can't not tier this and I can't drop it. So I'm just gonna go for T1 because it's pretty much the best event that I'm gonna get. So that was the main whale bait, and then it happened. So
What
whale bait successful.
when you started freaking out at recess? I don't know if your best
Mhm.
friends still play the game. Were they like, oh, what's going on? What's wrong, RC?
Oh no, I'm not in the same school as my best
Oh
friend
yeah, fair,
actually.
fair.
Yeah, we've been like childhood friends because our parents knew each other, but we went to like different secondary schools and
Oh, I
like
see.
I didn't really know anyone in my school like in real life that played Bandori then. So it was just like my friends who were like also on their phone and they looked over and it's like, why are you freaking out? And I was like, y'all don't understand. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And like I had to like explain to them on the way back to like our next like class, and I don't think they understood, but they were kind of supportive, which
Yeah,
like
that's
which was cool, yeah. So, and I actually I didn't really tell my best friend that I was going for T1. I just told her that I was touring and I wasn't gonna be available that week. So I remember still her like texting me on the first, and like if she's watching this, I'm so sorry because I told her about it. But I told like um I yeah, I told her like I was just gonna tear, and I remember like her texting me on the first day of the event, and she was like, "Dude, are you in T1 right now? What are you doing?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm going for T1." And she was like, "Oh my gosh, you're insane." I was like, "Yeah, I don't know why I'm doing this." So, but she's always been really nice about it, and I guess it's kind of weird because it's like she's the first one that got into it, and she's kind of like casual now, and she's like
Mm,
she logs in like only every few events, and it's like she's the one that brought the flame, but I'm the one that like made it into like a whole bonfire, and I was like, okay, I'm
yeah.
gonna make this game my passion of my life, my I don't know, like what I waste my time on and what I like lose sleeps of like nights of sleep over. So yeah, in that sense, it was just like I was kind of embarrassed by it. I don't know why I was embarrassed. I was just like I don't want people to know that I lost my like my life to a rhythm game. And I guess like people find out like when they find out. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm pretty down low about it in real life, but I guess it's cool. I
yeah.
don't really know how to explain it to people, but I think it's as worth of a time investment as like some other people's hobbies. It's just that like I guess a lot of people may not see the point to it at first.
Yeah, it's definitely a different perspective, and at the end of the day, it is a hobby, and we all have our reasons and passions to sort of show why we want to devote so much time playing A to Z to get that T1. But again, I think it's really funny. I don't think I've had someone in the podcast yet where they had like the person who first influenced them into the game still like play it relatively like religiously. Your friend, the fact that your friend still plays the game is still really nice. That's actually relatively uncommon for some reason for our guests. The friends seem to move on, but we are still stuck in this Bang Dream
Yeah.
game. But yeah, it's definitely pretty interesting to see that even your friend was able to see you and your whaleness of getting T1 eventually, which is pretty funny. Definitely funny to see. RC, were you surprised when you first read the story, when the story first came out of January this year, that Toko and Ron were childhood friends at one point? Did that like surprise you? And you're like, whoa, what is this?
Yeah, I was actually really surprised. Like now looking back on it, I feel like maybe I probably should have made a connection, given that like, they both have like the kind of like very like olden traditional Japanese families and like the writers are bound to make that connection at some point in
Hmm.
time. But I was actually very surprised by that like revelation. I thought the event was just gonna be them like meeting up for the first time. But I think it's a very nice connection to have, and I definitely really like how like their characters like juxtapose each other, like both in the past and in the present. I think yeah, it's a very nice like add on to the childhood friend list. But what I was very angry about is that they didn't give us like the kids cards because like they have like the
Mm.
Hagumi and they have the Kasumi cards and those they were childhood friends and they got like the baby versions, but we didn't get the baby versions. We didn't get the baby versions. I'm still waiting for the baby Toko and I can only retire when we get it one day. So
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
please give it to me
baby
soon.
Ron will have for now. Baby Toko will
Mhm.
come a little bit later, I suppose. Well, one day when we get more story from Morph, because Morph is definitely due for more stories for sure. So
Yeah.
just a reminder that all special guests featured in the RePHIL studio can be found in the Unga Academy Discord server. Links in the description below. Join our great community who is very passionate about Bang Dream, tiering, and many other interests. And we have weekly community events as well as contests for people to complete through challenges. Of course, all Filler Nation members can access the podcast live when they're recording in this Discord server as well. So we hope to see you there. So, RC, let's kind of again go back in time. It's January of 2021. You see that dream event, and you're saying you're gonna go for T1. So for this event, the spurred teamwork. Let's talk about that preparation, right? Because you did mention
Mhm.
that this T1 ended up being generally a lot easier for you than the T10, but take us maybe like a step by step on how did you sort of prepare for this event? What did you do that you think that helped you prepare for this event well, and the like?
Well, the first thing to do whenever you like want to plan an event is that firstly for me, I panic. I make a server, I make a Google sheet, I put every single cost inside, I start tabulating my goals, and I'm like, okay, I need more stars. I'm gonna hit top 2.5k every event. And then you fail that, and then you'll be like, oh, what do I do? And then you go to and then you got a whale, and then the and then you just hear. So, but like in all seriousness, I think half of a event is not the actual playing, but it's planning. Like I
Mm.
think depending on how well you plan and like quote unquote like strategize, it can basically make or break an event, especially with competition, which I was supposed to have at the start, but competition ended up moving to another event. So that's good for me, that's good for them. Happy ending for all of us. But basically for me, you have like the server, you start being like, hey guys, I'm going for this event. Nobody snipe me, please. Okay, don't actually say that because then they'll snipe you. But just be like, I'm going for this event, please like support me. And then you start looking at teams, you look at optimals, and then you go and look at all the miracle tickets and guaranteed gachas. And for me, I have not had very good luck in this game. So I
Mm.
basically only counted miracle tickets as like my surefire chances of getting a card. Like I didn't even count event banner. So then you go to best story, you calculate your games, calculate your flames, and then you talk to other people who have like maybe done like such events or like have done T1s before. So I consulted a lot of people who like I knew and people who like have done high tiering. So I think in general, I talked to Nebby, I talked to Nova a lot because they were like generally people I was close to, and like Nebby
Mm.
I tiered with before, so I kind of knew how the pacing of the event was. So it's very important. Like I think that I really have a clear view until I really got other people's experiences, because it's like such a new experience, and it's very like you're basically like at the top of the hill and there's nothing else to base it on. That I think really talking to other people who have done it before makes a very big difference on your expectations and how you look at things. So if anybody's planning to go for like a T1 or like a very high like tiering, I always recommend that you talk to people, you learn about their experiences, and like you ask them for like advice, like even like warnings or like even like sleep schedules, eating schedules, like sleep to play ratio. It's all things that it's very important for you to base off on so that you have an idea of what like going into the event, like how it's gonna be like and what to expect of both yourself and like the roster. And then afterwards it's just a lot of planning, a lot of saving, making connections, just generally watching out for like snipers and like having people who you know that will warn you if they find anything. And just like keeping you have to keep tabs on a lot of things, because it's a bit of a stress, like knowing that it's not just you, but it's your podium, it's your T10s, it's everybody who's coming to fill, that you're all depending on how well you manage, especially your T10 plus, because you're basically like the mother hen. And maybe I'm a bit too like on about this, but like you're basically the one that has to like deter or watch out for like competition servers, because if you should know about competition, because if you don't know about competition and people go into this expecting it's going to be a chill event, you're either going to have to like lose sleep, lose work, or like lose something else, and in general it's not going to be very fun for everyone. So it's definitely like being able to shoulder that responsibility and being able to prepare and strategize for like not just yourself but other people. And I think a lot of people like may not be ready for that in that sense. But in the end it's just like, am I ready to take on this like burden of not just playing but like managing this whole event and like basically making it like your event, which I mean like you get bragging rights, but
Mm.
it's also kind of a lot of pain in the meantime. But yeah, it's just a lot of that, and preparing yourself mentally, physically with like food or anything, and just making it so that when it comes down to the actual event, that you can just play and you don't have any other stresses, because playing by itself is already going to be very draining. And I'm like, for me, if I have anything else on top of that, it's just going to be a whole lot worse. So it's just about your preparation, making it easier for the actual event. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, look how much as our little RC has grown from stumbling from I kind of want to try this T10 thing going on, and then a whole year later, look at all the the experiences and the tips that you're able to gain throughout your journey and while you're preparing and being able to share with people. It's also really, I think it's a pretty interesting coincidence that both the events that you tiered for were VS Live. So, the VS Live
Yeah.
you tiered at the start. You didn't really had an idea of how to do it, but at least you knew that you had the stamina to do it. And then eventually, with more experience, it sort of grew, and with the knowledge, it grew. And then you're able to plan out that T1 again. Just the way that you're able to share all these tips and such, it just shows that how much you've known and grown to know and learn from other people in your preparation. So I think even if there was competition, I'm sure that you would find ways to use the knowledge that you had prepared for it and do what you can to do as best as you possibly could.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, of course, this event actually came a little earlier than expected, because of ENdori doing whatever they want to do. So, did that actually affect you? The fact that, again, at the time you learned about the event, we were expecting it to be exactly a year later. So you were expecting
Mhm.
the event to happen sometime in January of next year. But it
Mhm.
happened about a month, and so a little more than a month earlier. Basically, you finished the event in late November. How did you adapt to that? Was that like an easy adaptation, or is that something that you're just like, you're gonna uh, curse Ian Dory for life on that?
Oh, I think it was at different points in time. I probably did both because we didn't just go through one shift from the original January date to the current
Mm,
date, but it was like a multiple mix-ups, and like to the point where like we didn't really know what event was gonna be next. So we had, if I'm gonna put it in like a timeline, it was gonna be January, and then we learned about the shortening events, and it was supposed to fall then in mid-December, and I think our predicted start date then was 16th, which will fall exactly on Toko's birthday. And I think I
mm,
was free that time, but I didn't
mm,
really know that if my family was gonna have any. You usually have Christmas stuff, so I was kind of
mm,
worried that that would coincide. But wasn't really anything. And then I can't remember what happened. Oh, it was the one of us delay. So then
mm,
that shifted it to, I think it was 1 week after we were supposed to have the slot that not really New Year's is having now, but like in between that. So like what Ojo Majo was supposed to be before this Google delay. So that was actually bad. Then that was the time that I actually had to consider dropping because my family we will be like going away on a staycation then. And we couldn't really change the dates. And it was either I would have to sit home and like play from home, and like while my family was like at the beach resort, or I
oh
would have to go
no.
there. Yeah. It was I already went on that trip. It was pretty fun. But like, or I was gonna to go to the beach resort and I would sit in a room all day and play my stupid little rhythm game. And even then, because you have transit everything, you have to go out for meals and stuff like that. I wasn't really sure if I could make the hours. So that was a really rough time. And it was a lot of like trying to like a lot of copium, and it was just very like it was very unsure. And I think I felt kind of bad because then the delay for like New Year's not being able to happen came out, which pushed us 1 week forward to the like actual event start date happen, and everybody was like super mad about it, but I was like the only one happy because it pushed the event from like dates that I couldn't hear and I'll be away to like the 1 week just nice that I had free, like totally free during the holidays. Like except for my internship. You can ask me about that later if you would like. It was
Mm.
quite something. I had to do a lot of things to like finish everything for my internship on like the day on like the Wednesday that the internship started, and then on Thursday and Friday I was like, sorry guys, I can't come in for meetings. You guys have to go on without
Oh
me. I'm doing
no.
something. Yeah, and I was like having to explain tiering, what tiering was to like three other interns who like knew nothing about it. And I'm doing like an art internship, so it's like the very kind of very artsy people who have like
Yeah.
never heard of like min maxing or like playing video games basically. So that
Mhm.
was something, but in the end the dates did end up all right. though I would say that that doesn't exactly trade in for all like the stress and like mental trauma it caused, which I think I can, yeah, it's not just me like relating to that. And it was like one of the things I was the most mad about when all these delays started happening, because it's like you have to respect, you know, that like how your community is like, and you know how they plan stuff a lot ahead, and you kind of have should try your best to respect that, or at least give us like more dates and information that we can work with. Like I don't really care if you're updating it every 2 days, but I would much rather like to have like actual feedback and like communication between the devs and the community than leaving us in the dark and waiting for like something that actually can be like set in stone.
Well, RC, you were definitely not the only one who were affected by tiering
Mm-hmm.
schedule shifts. I'm sure they all share very similar sentiments of the fact that they had all this planned out and things were going to go work out, and then suddenly with all these crazy shortening of events and then delays of updates, it certainly does affect people in terms of their plans, and of course affected you in terms of your planning and just how stressful it was at the end. But I was just gonna ask whether or not the 6 day event being a shortened event helped you, and I think I already got the answer to that. That was yes. It
Yep.
basically was just so fortunate and lucky that it just kind of so happened to be a very short event just right before your vacation, and it all worked out in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That was the luck sack. It's probably paid off for the horrible gacha luck I've had. But in the end, I still wouldn't trade it. I think even if like it guaranteed me like all four star who, like it's really been very lucky, and I'm just
Mhm.
very like just very happy that I got to tear it peacefully.
So how did you manage to, again, even if it was like during right before your vacation, you still had that internship. So what was that like, being able to balance an internship with playing Bang Dream Girls Man Party all the time?
Oh my gosh. It was just like me trying to like make excuses that why I couldn't turn up to meetings. And luckily we didn't have a lot of meetings that week because it
Mhm.
was like our first assignment. But what we did have to do is that um like I was working with another intern on like setting up posters and like doing up a proposal for an exhibition space. So it was like my working hours are from 9 to 5. So during
Mhm.
then I would be like tapping with one hand, like not with one hand, I would be like tapping, and then in between matches I would like tap from like my best story event tracker to like Canva, and I would be like shifting like stuff around on the graphic, and then I'd send it to like my friend, like the other intern, and I'd go back to tapping. So it was kind of a lot of stress, I guess, but
Mhm.
it was something that I couldn't really avoid, and I felt really bad about it. And I didn't really want to like actively like just drop them off entirely, because it's like the
Mhm.
first week, and I just don't want to be seen as a person who's like just absent from like the first impression. So like I still had to try and keep up with that. And it was quite a big stressor, and especially one that I didn't see coming, because I didn't expect that I would get an internship at all. And then the news
Mhm.
came and the event got shifted, and I was like, oh shit. So that was a little stress. No, it was quite a lot of stress, especially because those first 2 days, I think it was Thursday and Friday, we also had a podium chaser. So it was like I had to juggle working while tearing, while like tracking and like playing like extremely long hours, just so that we could like get ahead and make sure that I wouldn't get bloated while like I slept.
Mhm.
So in that sense, it was kind of stressful, but I don't think anybody has tiered the event like totally peacefully.
Mhm.
So everybody's bound to have some kind of mix-ups, and I'm just glad that I didn't have to work on like the first half of the week or the weekend. So the rest of that time was rather smooth sailing for me.
For sure, for sure. And speaking of experiences, right? Again, there's always some bumps and obstacles in the way. But one of our viewers, Mashi asked, "What was your favorite moment or memory from that Tokoran tiering event? Like, you've obviously shared a lot of the challenges and obstacles you had to face, but was there any part of the whole tiering experience you found very memorable and something that you will remember from that T1?"
Oh, I definitely think that it's not a very like specific experience, but I got
Hmm.
myself a lot more accustomed to like voice calling and like speaking from like someone's screen to like my screen, like over this event. Like before this, I wasn't really like, even if I joined calls and like my friends are talking, I would just stay muted and I'll type in the chat. But you can't really do that when you're like tapping your phone 95% of the time. And I was
Hmm.
just too tired to like drop my phone, like type a message and then menu. So I just like I started like talking. I tried to be more active, more like outgoing. And I think that's something definitely that this event was very like concrete and like it was very special to me in that sense because I feel like I really stepped on my comfort zone. I was able to make new friends and it's just like I learned like basically how to like not be a very like introverted idiot in that sense. And I think I'm very thankful to especially everybody who came by to stream games and things like that. I remember like I like the last 3 days I just like watched other people stream Pokemon. And like okay, that not only saved me $60 on the game because like the whole thing like spoiled for me, but it was also really fun to kind of like be able to talk with people and like
Hmm.
crack jokes with them. And I ran out of things to watch by like the third day.
Oh.
Like I think I've shared this somewhere else, but I started, I love rom-coms and like what I mainly watched when I tear because I can't watch horror because jump scares will make me lose combo. And I don't really I was, like, starting to fall asleep to, like, YouTube video essays and stuff like that, so I try to put on movies, and I will go through, like, those, like, top 35, like, romance comedies to watch list, and I would, like, find that I've, like, watched every single one of them, and there's, like, nothing else for me to watch, so it pretty much got to that stage. So I'm just like, thank you to everybody who streamed because like you guys were like my savior of keeping me entertained in like the last stretch. And I think at one point in time, I think it was like I Blair who was streaming Roblox Good Game, and I was laughing so hard that I was failing songs because it was really, really funny. So yeah, it was very entertaining, and I think that was definitely my favorite part of the event.
Well, big shout outs to those who joined voice call, be able to interact, and just be able to build a community sense from there, right? And be able
Yeah.
to show that they are there to support you. So, RC, again, big congrats on your T1 once more. It was great to hear about the experiences that you learned and shared from and from that event, and hopefully you continue to wear that T1 title, the T1 by the way title, with pride.
Thank you.
Yeah. RC, one more thing we want to talk about is that this is something I usually talk about with our servers as sorry, our guests as
Mhm.
well. Just like future tiering plans, do you have anything in mind? Is that something you still want to do in the future that you want to tier for events?
I definitely have touring plans for next year.
Hmm.
And like I think that now that especially because the T1's done and like over with that I don't really have any events that I very strictly want to stick to anymore. So
Hmm.
I've planned quite a few. Like I have a podium next year, like a planned podium like podium T10 depending on how like school decides to screw me over. And I have a few T10s planned. So like one of them is the Zombieland Saga event. That one I definitely want to do a T10 or I
Oh
want to
yeah, you
like
mentioned
podium
that.
for.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it was pretty crazy because I everybody thought it was gonna be like Sailor Moon or like Madoka Magica. And I was pretty much the only one like the crazy wacko conspiracy theorists out there like it's gonna be Zombieland Saga. I'm telling y'all it's gonna be Zombieland Saga. And it actually was. And Zombieland Saga is one of the franchises that's it's very, very dear to my heart. And I think that like I'm actually like right now as we speak, I'm like looking at like standees of like the Zombieland Saga girls on like the top of my desk. So
Hmm.
it's a franchise that I value a lot, and it's very much like a comfort anime. I think it's like the only anime that I have like shed tears to at like the finale. So it was definitely like a very like euphoric moment when like the event got announced. And I definitely want a tier for that. And I still have like a few other T10s planned. One definitely is Morphonica Band Story 2. I'm thinking about I'm on a roster for the Tsukushi event, the Tsukushi banner next year too, and some other thing, I don't know. I'm trying to hold back from planning for T10 so that, because this year I think what I really missed out on is I'll be like T100 at that event, and then there are like T10 slots open, but I'm like, oh no, I can't snipe T10 because I'm doing a T1. But then now that it's over, I definitely have time for, and I have the funds for a lot more of those opportunities. So I'm kind
Mhm.
of trying to leave some space open so that I can maybe sneak a few of those in, or at least I have the funds and the means to do that.
Yeah, that's a lot of plans, a lot of whale plans, even after
Uh
T1.
huh. Uh
It's
huh.
fun. It's interesting to see how hungry you are for more. A lot of people after like T1, they might want to take it easy after that, but seems like you're hungry for more competition. And regardless, I'm sure a lot of you out there who are listening would be very happy to support you.
Mm-hmm.
And will be able to, definitely give you the support needed to achieve your goal. So all the best, RC. Hopefully that will all work out. Especially again, considering you already mentioned how difficult it is sometimes, not only for the poor wallet chan, but for just time in general, right? Just
Yep.
time, like putting work outside of work, outside of school. It's not easy, but definitely big big shout outs to you on your continued plans. It's great to see that you're doing more hearings. So all the best, and we'll definitely be here to support you.
Thank you. I hope I'll see you around.
Oh, well, definitely. I'll see what I could do to do what I can, do my usual filling as I need. There's one more question that we have from one of our viewers. Now it's a little bit outdated because by at the time of when this question was asked, we didn't actually know what was going on with the ENdori. The question was since the collab was delayed. There's no events and gachas at the time, right? So for those unfamiliar, after A Spur to Teamwork, there was a period in ENdori, it was about a week, where there was just no events, no gacha at all. What were your sentiments about that little gap in ENdori?
I think like for the most part, it was worrying, and because I think for like such a like we already all had sentiments of like Ian Dory kind of like going towards a dark place from when they started like delays, and then Halloween couldn't keep up. But I
Mhm,
feel like this was a very very big stressor, especially because I don't have like I'm not in the retirement home yet currently.
mhm,
That like how is this game gonna keep up? Like how is your management doing? Especially because I guess it's always been a tough scene, but especially now because with Project Sekai being brought to English, and it's definitely going to be very tough, like competition scene in like this small rhythm games world. And it's like, are you going to be able to keep your whales? Are you going to be able to keep your customers, especially if your management is already like this? And I think it's like this event delays in general have been it's like threatening what like the game needs the most, which is like
mhm,
tiers, because I'm pretty sure that we probably spend the most money on like gacha and like events. Like
mhm,
so it's just like, what are you doing? Because this is your main like customer like demographic, and you're basically like screwing like so many of them over with what you're doing. So it was really worrying to me. And it was also like low key depressing because like while the delay was happening, it's like the first time in 3 years or well, like 2 years for me that basically had like no events whatsoever. And I didn't
mhm,
realize how much I was into the rhythm of like every like after like you have like a 60 event two, then a 2 day break, and then you're back to playing again, and like breaking
mhm.
that rhythm and not having to touch the game like felt so weird that I was actually logging on just to like FC songs in free life. Like I somehow I can't really say that I missed the game,
Mhm,
because like I don't think I really miss it, but it was just like it felt like something was absent from my life in the meantime.
mhm.
So I think that that definitely threw me off a bit. But
Yeah,
I'm just glad that the event's back now, and
yeah.
I think it's a bit of like an optimistic standpoint. But at this point in time, I'm just trying to be the bigger person that I hope that this event will just be the start of a more smooth sailing and return to normalcy for this game and its community.
Yeah, I was kind of on the same boat as well. I was honestly a little bit more pessimistic. I thought that we may not have events for at least like 2 or 3 weeks, but they were able to get their act together and have the events. And I even jokingly said that you were going to be the last T1 ever in ENdori. That would have been a very maybe a bittersweet title to have. It's just like, oh well, yeah, it's my
Uh-huh.
T1, but it's like, oh well, that's it. But either way, again, the game's back, and let's hope that the game goes back to normal means soon, like catching up on events that they missed, and hopefully they sort of foresee errors in the future and find ways to avoid that, because
Mhm.
I think having these kind of event shifts and all this stuff a second time would definitely be quite bad for the players. I,
Mm.
I was actually just gonna mention as well, like, because you mentioned future events, and I actually forgot to ask this because you also you are planning to play Project Sekai as well, right?
Uh, I was planning to play, but then they did the
Yeah.
stupid thing of locking out Southeast Asia. So I don't think I will be a part of the Yen Sekai launch. I have tiered JP before,
Hmm.
so yeah, it's definitely not something new to me. But it's just that I'm kind of locked out from that until they bring
Yeah.
Southeast Asia. I I may consider tiering Southeast Asia Project Sekai, but I think that like no matter what, after especially because after I've gotten the taste of tiering in JP, I think I'll always stick to Bandori because Project Sekai is just so whale heavy. Like
Yeah.
you look at the game and it's like they took every single thing that could be made like pay to win or like whaled on, and they just like made it, they locked it behind paywalls. Like you don't,
Hmm.
not every single card has a costume, not every single card has like different hair. You can use up to 10 boosts, which is horrible for the wallet. It's literally like burning money. And in general, it's like the game just makes like everything like kind of harder to like tier on.
Hmm.
So I'm definitely still thinking about that. I just want cheap titles, cheap glory, cheap 15 minutes of fame, and in general, like I'm not sure about like how the community that's gonna develop. So we're probably gonna have to wait and see about that.
Yeah, yeah. I was just gonna say as well. Yeah, the very unfortunate situation of worldwide Sekai locking out Southeast Asia for whatever reason. It's just, I don't know. It's just a little bit
Yeah.
a lot of mobile gacha game companies out there doing some questionable things. Maybe you could maybe just walk into Ian Road headquarters. I don't think they're that too far from you, right? You just walk in there and be like, "Hey,
Yeah, I really
what's going on?"
mhm. I really don't think so. Like, there's probably like a high chance that I've already seen like some of the dev team as I'm like walking
What?
around this like hot small country. It's really tiny. Like I'm pretty sure that you can get from one end of like Singapore to the other end like within an hour if you're in a car. And it's gonna be like less than 2 hours if you take public transport. So yeah, that's something. And I will like if you guys pay me enough, I might just go to their headquarters and like yell at the door. So that's something. I'm always open to payment.
Well, let's hope that they get their act together before we have to resort to such
Mhm.
to such measures. But hey, RC, again, a great time having you here in the Refill studio today. Thank you so much for taking the time again once more to share your story, share experiences about your tiering, and your opinions of various things in Bandori. So it's great to have you in the studio today. Are there any other things, last minute words you want to say to the viewers out there?
Actually, there's one thing. Am I allowed to ask questions to the host? Can
Sure,
I
you could
ask you
ask
if you have
me.
any
Yeah,
tiering
that's
plans?
it's people don't usually ask me questions. I'm very open to that. Yeah.
I want to know about your tiering plans. I want to know if you have anything planned because I saw
Me?
you get a T10 last year, and yes, do you have any whale bait? Whale bait thoughts. I'm here to add them out. I'm here to encourage them.
What, RC suddenly taking over as host of my podcast. Um, you know, with tiering so far, I'm still working on my plans. I'm still working on what exactly I want to do. One thing that's really
Mhm.
interesting is that they've introduced in this current new event, the Welcome to the Shrine event, they've added new titles like the T50 titles, the T300 titles. So I think, normally I would go either for like a either a really lazy T1000 or like a super like heavy competitive T100. So now the fact that I could get T50 relatively easily now instead of T100, it's like, okay, well, I could do some T50s for sure. I don't know if I have whale thoughts for T10 or T1 yet. People are already joking that I'm going T1 of Nico Ni Connect or Buddy X Buddy, and that's not true. That's not true. I'm not cheering for those, but I'll see. I'm still, for you, RC, you were very fortunate to have, Toko and Ron coming together in one banner, like really quickly when Toko was first announced. So, that was sort of like your dream event. I'm still kind of waiting for that myself for two of my favorite characters. So, we'll see.
What is your dream event? Let me guess. Sayo and Himari.
Yeah, something like
Mixed banner?
that. Maybe, yeah, maybe something like that. Maybe you were spot on.
Everybody take notes, take notes.
But it's not gonna happen, guys. It's not gonna happen. So
No. I'm gonna advertise this everywhere. I'm gonna make sure that JP devs watch it. I'm gonna make sure it happens.
yeah, you
And
don't
then
you don't need to fly over to JP Bushiroad headquarters and request that. You don't have to do that.
I'm pretty sure if I break into the Bushi Road headquarters, they'll probably have like computers with like the JP devs like contact info on it, and then after that you're gonna see it in 2 months.
Oh no.
Sayo, Himari, Toko, so that I'm forced to fill. I don't know who the other two. How do we make this a whale event? Let's throw in Yukina and Ran. Yeah.
Wow,
Good luck.
that would be like
Have
a
fun.
dream event for you as well. Toko Ran back at it again.
Yeah. Or you can throw in Lisa instead of like Ran or Yukina. And it's another dream event for me. So I'll see you there.
Yeah. Lisa Himari Toko would be a very interesting event for sure.
Yes,
I think those three need an event.
I'm waiting for that in like fear, especially because like in the next few months, like unless they give her the Kaoru treatment, Toko's gonna be pretty due for a banner then. And I'm just like, it makes sense that they will give her like a Morphonica banner after her first is mixed. But also you have like the great potential of that, especially because they've had like a Pico episode to like themselves already. And like with Aya, like it could totally happen. I can totally see it happening. So
Yeah.
I'm like a little bit scared. I don't know. I'm trying to very hard to like set a retirement date right now, but I think that would be enough to like get me like hobbling on like my walking cane out of retirement home for another run.
Yeah, we'll see, because again, Morphonica is due for a full event relatively soon as well, because their most recent event was Man Story 2. So I think they might have one probably maybe like either at the end of this year or early next year. And yeah, may have a Toko focus. So we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah. But either way, RC, once again, thank you so much for joining the studio today. As a reminder to all viewers, all of our special guests are featured and are in my Discord server. So feel free to come in if you want to say hi and chat and ask questions, because of course we always love to do that. You could also follow RC on Twitter as well. Their social media handle is on the video as well as the description below. And yeah, that concludes the episode today. So thank you all so much for taking the time to join us in the studio today. Our set has been complete. Hope you have your cans ready for the next set and when we refill for our next episode. But until then, thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you all later. Take care and bye.